MC Sean Love, or as they know me in the beat making world, Metal Gear Solid Beats. And this is my second beat lesson video, you know? Now listen, if y'all are enjoying these videos, definitely check out my beat session series, because I got about 20 videos on my YouTube account you might want to check out. It's, you know, it's not lessons, but it's just, you know, having fun making beats. Mostly using the SP-1200, but also some MPC stuff, some Reason stuff, and I believe I use the S950 or S2000, one of them too. Beat video number one, the lesson. If you didn't check out beat lessons video number one, then make sure you do, because that's kind of like the foundations. And today we're going to be using the SP-1200, and we're going to be using the Native Instrument machines for what it's good for. And we're going to be making another beat, and this time I'm going to go into filtering and some editing and some ways around things with the SP-1200. Before I do, I want to get into a little bit about the first video. I want to talk a little bit more about beat philosophy, and then we're going to make a whole beat ourselves right here, right? So let me start off by talking to you guys a little bit about the first video and the flack that I'm receiving with it. First of all, I mean, the questions that I'm having and the comments that are being made to me is a lot of people don't agree with what I said about keyboard beat makers and people that use the MIDI control devices and whether or not they're skilled producers. As I said in that video, and I just want to clarify, I think that they are skilled producers that do well with those machines. I don't like the sound in general that hip-hop has transformed into over the years. I don't like it. It's my opinion. I've been involved in hip-hop since the early 90s. Does every beat I make bang? No, definitely not. But I definitely got bangers. You know, the other beat was a drop in the bucket, so if you didn't like it, there's 1,000 more where that came from. If I speak passionately about this music, or about my opinion about this music, or my view or my outlook, it's because I feel passionately about it. I've been doing it my whole life. And last but not least, just in terms of being an artist, not just off mic on the production tip, but also as an MC, my work over the years has produced up to about 11 vinyl records with my name on it, and also almost double that in CDs. And we're not talking about internet affairs. We're not talking about digital downloads. We're talking about hard copies. I'm not going to do all your homework for you. If you want to look me up, you can. If you don't, that's fine, because that's not really the purpose of these videos. You haven't heard of me as a producer until now. But let me tell you something. That's a slippery slope, and you should be careful, because I'm looking at towards the middle of my career right now, and some of you guys are at the very beginning, and you may never get this far. So if you haven't gotten as far as I have so far, but you've got a lot of high hopes and dreams, that's good for you. I'm glad, and I'm happy to see confidence and inspiration. But you might not make it this far, because I came up with a lot of people that didn't make it this far. We are going to use the SP-1200 today, but I would like to, you know, show you the Native Instruments machine. I do know that machine inside and out, just like the SP-1200. I know Reason as well, and we're going to use the machine to make this beat. Now, what would you use a Native Instruments machine to help out with an SP-1200? Well, first of all, I'm hungry, and I find that a Native Instrument machine makes a great serving platter for nachos. So when I'm making my SP-1200 beats, sometimes I like to use the Native Instrument machine to kind of hold my nachos in place for me and give me inspiration, you know? That way you don't have anything like not real hip-hop like a platter or a piece of china or some grandma stuff holding your nachos. You get to actually do it in beat-making hip-hop fashion. You know what I mean? You got a machine, got the nachos. And we're going to get started. Alright, we're going to start with our beat today. Let's do filtering. Let me make my intentions clear. I mean, today we're not making a beat that's going to get posted up in a beat battle versus Kanye West. I mean, this is not a beat that's, you know, me and Just Blaze aren't going toe-to-toe. What we're trying to do is we're trying to explore the functionality of this. The techniques we used to use that sometimes to me sound better. I mean, when you filter something through this, the bass, sometimes it sounds better to me. I mean, I don't think the sound could be duplicated on one of these new machines. So, you know, for what it's worth, we're going to get into it. But I want to make it a little more challenging. The only criteria for the beat is you got to be able to rap to it. It's got to have a chorus. It's got to have a verse. It doesn't have to have too much else. You just got to be able to rap to it, just enough to rap to, and it be acceptable by you know, basic standards. And I want to do it in less. 10 seconds is a lot of time. I want to do this one in less than 6 seconds. All right. So I'm shaving off more than 4 seconds out of the 10-second sampling time. We're going to be using only vinyl for this. We're going to be only using the SP-1200 in the mixer. Now listen. One thing that you got to understand about this SP-1200 or even the MPC-60 when the memory wasn't maxed out is you got to get real creative with echoes. So if you listen to like those early 90s records where they had the horns, that's important. I mean, that's something that people are doing to fill out a space or make changes without using too much sample time. So I'm going to emulate that a little bit too. And one sample I've been wanting to hear is like Happiness. Is this song by Fifth Dimension. And it's called Working on a Groovy Thing. That's the name of it. And this is a dope record. And Fifth Dimension in general is dope for samples. I mean, they've been sampled before. But you'd be surprised at how much dope stuff that they got that hasn't been used. Main sample I'm going to use for the chorus is yeah. So I mean, as you can hear, it's a dope sample, and then the doom 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 doom. So I isolated that, took it apart. This is the trick. It was stumbled onto early in the SP-1200's life, and it's a trick that you know a lot of people know. But if you're a new acquirer of an SP-1200, you might want to know that the way you filter out a sample, in the first video I showed you how to sample, and they're in pads 2 and 3. Now what you got to do is you got to go to Setup and press 17, and that'll give you a situation where you can assign a channel. Right? Channel 2 is a special channel, right? So 7 and 8 has got these 2 samples in it. They've been copied into here. And so, you know, even though you only got 10 seconds, technically you just bought yourself more time. I'm going to turn the tuning all the way down, and as you see, it's put into channel 2. And what's awesome about this is if you plug in this channel 2 plug all the way, it sounds pretty normal. A little beefier, but it sounds normal. But the SP-1200 trick, the filtering trick, is you unplug plug number 2 about halfway, right? And then that creates a filter for your bass line. So when you have your normal sample and you press pad 7 you copied it into, now that plug is halfway unplugged, right? Okay, right? So that's dope. And then you put in that boom. Yeah, and this what gives it that thickness. This what gives it that bass, right? And here's another little trick that I like to use. Like, let's just say I'm making a beat, and that's my chorus. It says happiness is in my soul. But then when I flip it over, and I just want to hear it all by itself, right? I go to sequence 4 that I sequenced it up, and I'm just hearing the bass line by itself, right? And that's cool. And when I add drums, I'm sure it'll be fresh. But the thing is that that's not enough for a beat, right? And so, and let's just say me or somebody else that rhymes to it, they want to like kind of incorporate that word happiness into their rhyme, like happiness, what I want, blah, 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 right? What you could do is, how do you cut off that sample? You can't resample it. There's not enough time. So the way you do it, and this is the trick, right? So you got boom. I wanted to say happiness in the beginning, like happiness, dun, 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 and just go right into the bass line. How do I do that? Well, what you do is you go into another bank you're not using, and I'm going to program pad 7 as having the same output as this happiness sample, right? It's a blank pad, but I'm going to program it, and I'm going to assign the channel 7 to it, because with the SP-1200, when you're taking a channel and you press a button from the same channel, so let's just say one sample is programmed into channel 7, and I press another sample programmed into channel 7, it cuts the other sample off. So if I just want to get that happiness and get it to cut off, I can't resample it. I guess I could copy it, but I'd have to play out the whole sample, because you can't edit once you've copied. So the trick there is you get your sequence, you press the happiness, and then you press the blank pad, right? And when you press that blank pad, it cuts off the sample. So now we're going to hear the happiness over the filtered baseline happiness, and it's just going to cut off. You hear that? So it's like that is a common way of like chopping samples mid-sequence in the SP-1200. Let me get some more nachos. Back to what I was saying about the echoing. You're not always going to come up with a winner, but sometimes you got to echo something, and you got to be small sounds. I mean, I've only got 4 seconds of sample time left. These were big samples for an SP-1200. Baseline is going to be for my verses. Obviously, the chorus is going to be happiness is in my soul. And you're also dealing with a situation where, you know, boom, 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 boom. Maybe that can go over the filtered sample. So it's like to add a little bit of you know, grit to it, add a little layer to it, so it sounds a little more substantial than just a filtered out, you know, chorus. But one other thing you're gonna need to do is you're gonna have to have these little baby sounds that you can throw in there. You know, I tried to make something work and blend, it didn't work, so I'm just gonna take the little voice that's at the end of the sample and see how that echoes over these bass lines. That's it, that's all. Slow it down. So what you do to echo a sample in the SP-1200, you go into setup, you press 12, that's the function, right? Multi-level, and then you got to press the pad itself that it's stored in. And then what you got is... Alright, so now what we got. I promise y'all we'll do this in less than 6 seconds. The SP-1200 starts out with 10 seconds of time. So when I check my remaining seconds, there should be less than 4 left, or more, a little more than 4 left. So 4 or more. Let's see the samples I got. I got my little flavor sample that I throw in to try to make a verse sound like a verse, even though it's just the chorus filtered, right? Because I can't afford to take enough samples to do a verse sample and a chorus sample. I got to use one for both, right? Then I got my main samples. All right. Then I got my little flavor samples, and they're just little bits, right, that you're going to be echoing over top of your verse portion, right? So you can add a little flavor to it without the extra time. Even though it's really the same sample, you're just kind of changing the way it sounds a little bit. Maybe not the perfect choice, but it'll work, right? And then I got, of course, my based out versions of that chorus sample, which is going to serve as my verse. In bank B, I've only got one thing, and that's a drum loop. Boom. And that's it, right? So, I mean, the criteria for this was to try to make something that is rap-toable, something that's under 6 seconds. Let's see how I did. First, I'm going to show y'all in setup. I got to press 23 for the extended menu, and then I'm going to press 13 to see how many seconds are left. 4.2, right? So that tells you that I used how many seconds? 5.8. So that's under 6, so that's not breaking the rules. So I'm going to start this with a little sequence. Now I'm going to try to make this sound like a song-in-song format using less than 6 seconds. Start with the intro, throw the bass line in, throw some drums in, do some change-ups, and straight to the chorus. Let's see what we can do. Alright, let's throw that bass line in. Like I told you, I want that happiness to ride, right? Put the friends and the money in cars, there ain't nothing to, right? And after you let that rock for a second, you're gonna want to have the little echo portions there to round it out, make it sound like a song, you know. To the chorus, yo. Alright, now that we're done with that, my serving platter. Feed that ish to the dogs. Squirt! Come here, buddy.